Administrator McCarthy, I thank you for being here today, and I certainly appreciate your willingness to answer questions. I want to ask you about a Superfund site in my district in Buncombe County, Region 4, and there's a TCE contamination, and TCE is often called sinker, right? And what we found with studies and what I've been told from the experts is that this TCE contamination is also a floater because there's a petroleum element to it, and so it's on the surface of the groundwater. So therefore, finding that out is a positive thing because it makes the cleanup easier and means that we can actually take action now. And so that's what I want to ask you about is about that very issue. And the EPA can require CTS, which is the company that did the polluting, to move forward immediately to address the floating contamination while it continues to investigate the sinker contamination. Will the EPA urge CTS and direct them to do that?
Well, I don't know, sir, what the next step is. I do know that progress is being made, and I really appreciate your interest in this site. This is actually a site that can significantly impact public health. And so I think it's important that we keep moving this forward. I'm glad it's been listed on the Superfund list finally, so that we can move it forward. And our next steps are actually to conduct some follow-up air sampling studies to define the extent of the contamination in the air and in nearby homes, which is something that I think you have been very focused on. And the study will expand and move away from the site so we can identify the full extent of the release of the volatile organic compounds, and we can properly address both the immediate public health challenge as well as the environmental cleanup challenge. So this has been 20 years in the making, long before you and I had our current roles and long before Congressman Meadows and I represented this county. We've only represented this county for 18 months. But what we need is action from you. And from what we understand from CTS officials, and my constituents have heard from board members of that company, they said they've asked, and the quote is, they're doing everything that EPA has asked them to do, right? And so there's a credibility problem for the EPA at stake here, both on the time frame it took to get this site on the national priorities list, as well as that type of message coming from the company. We also know that the administrative orders of consent in 04 and 12 say that the EPA has the authority to direct the company in very extraordinary ways. And so I ask you to do that. There is immediate action that can take place that will be good for the public health of my constituents and Congressman Meadows' constituents, good for Western North Carolina, and is a meaningful step that can be taken in the short term to clean up what we know is achievable, even though the more difficult issue may still remain. So what I ask you to do, what I urge you to do, is to work through these issues and deal with that and take action. I would be happy to take a look at this. Why don't I make sure that your staff and ours talk about this, and I'll do the very best I can to make sure that this cleanup addresses both the immediate concerns as well as the long-term pollution issues that we're trying to address.
Thank you. I thank you, and we've worked extensively with Region 4 staff. And look, we all want clean water. We all want clean air. And what my families that I represent in Western North Carolina want is action taken. And so with that, I'd like to yield the balance of my time to Congressman Meadows on this issue because he has worked extensively on this matter as well.
I thank the gentleman. I thank the gentleman from North Carolina. Congressman Micah would like me to yield just a couple of minutes.